Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. Welcome to what's going to be, maybe to some people, a distasteful series of videos, but I feel the need that it needs to be done. It needs to be out there because I want to make the Muslim community aware of exactly who you are entrusting with your deen and entrusting with your wealth, especially when it comes to the donation box. So before I get to what I'm speaking to exactly or precisely, I'm going to say clearly from now, these videos are not for everybody. As I said, some people are going to say that they are fitna, that you shouldn't be saying these, they should be said behind closed doors and whatever and whatnot. I've looked into all avenues and I've decided to go through with them, with making these videos. If you don't want to watch them, it's easily as just turning off your YouTube or your social media or your camera or TV or whatever it is and go and live your day. Don't watch the videos. It's very simple. In saying that, I'll start by quoting what Imam Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah rahmatullah alayhi, he said, exposing the faults of these people, the heretics, and revealing their scandals and corrupt principles is of the best jihad in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the intention behind making such videos. You're probably asking, what are they about? I recently had finished a 4-day trial up against the Australian Jewish lobby who took offense to some of the ayat and ahadith and explanations and even delivery of those ayat and ahadith which spoke about the Jews in to what they saw a negative or dehumanizing, I think so, that's what they use, or offensive way. So subhanallah, they took offense to that, took me to court. We tried to rally the Muslim community behind us, and when I say community, I'm not talking about the layman or the general person in the community. Alhamdulillah, you have been very supportive out there, especially all those people who donated. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward each and every single one of you. May Allah azza wa jal increase your wealth and increase your status in this life and in the next. Ameen. I'm talking about those Muslim organizations, that have in their title Muslim Da'i Center, whatever it may be. These shuyukh, these imams, these khatibs, these da'is, who all claim to be speaking and loving the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and hating the enemies of Allah azza wa jal, who call for unity, but when unity is called for, they open up the back door and they, or jump ship. 4-day trial, as I said, we tried to get people on board. We tried to get the Muslim organizations and community members or leaders and shuyukh, da'is, as I said, on board. To the extent that we started to organize meetings, were placed in a WhatsApp group to discuss everything that's happening. This sort of starts about a year ago with this particular organization, the LMA, the Lebanese Muslim Association. One of the brothers who comes to Jum'ah here, he said, look, I just ran into the secretary of the LMA, Jamal Khair, and he's brought up this case that I'm currently facing. And he said to him, why aren't you brothers getting on board? Why aren't you helping? And he said, yeah, we want to get on board and we want to help and we want to do this and we want to do that, as people do. So I've jumped on the phone, I've called up Jamal. Assalamu alaikum, Jamal. Wa alaikum assalam. And there he's telling me, despite our differences and whatever's happened in the past, this is a time where the Muslims in Australia need to stand together, and it's bigger than you and it's bigger than your center. It's got to do with all the Muslims. We can't leave you on your own, and whatever's happened and other organizations and this organization, this and that. And then he says something which I think is coming back today to bite him in his backside. He said, this is going to show who's the real from the fake. This is going to show who's the real from the fake, subhanallah. And that's what it's showing. So after a brief talk, I was taken back, to be honest. Everything that I've ever said about the LMA and everybody there, and I said, man, maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe I've been too harsh on these people. And people were telling me, nah, you're crazy, they're this and they're that. And I'm saying, listen, let's just give them a go. And this is maybe one of the first things I want to bring up right here, right now. Some people have taken me calling shuyukh and Muslim organizations that I came to them from a point of witness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this isn't the truth whatsoever, not even close. I came to them to prove me wrong. I've always attacked these other Muslim organizations, other shuyukh, other da'is. They don't know wala wal bara, they don't know hakimiyya, they don't know this and they don't know that. They only care about money, they only care about themselves, they only care about politicians, they only care about this or that. I said to myself, I want to be proven wrong. They speak about unity. I'm always the one who's saying, no, I don't want to have nothing to do with this unity and so on and so forth. There's no such thing as unity. I said, you know what? I'll swallow my pride. I'll put everything I've thought about on the side. Have I taken a personal approach against them? I said, you know what? I'll just place it on the side for this, just to see if they can prove me wrong. And there's multiple brothers that are witness to this, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a witness to this first. So I said, maybe I was wrong about the LMA. I started telling the boys, man, you see what happened? I just spoke to somebody from the LMA and they're willing to get on board and help, drumming it up. And again, everyone's looking at me like crazy. You, out of all people, are sort of starting to soften up to these guys. And I said, Allah Azza wa Jal is the heart of the abd are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then we started to organize meetings. We wanted to organize a meeting where we were going to invite my legal team, my barristers and my solicitors, who were going to come and speak to these Muslim organizations and these shuyukh. Was why? Because Abu Usaid, he's extremist. He doesn't know what he's going on about. He overdoes it sometimes. So get Abu Usaid out of the way, speak to the lawyers, ask whatever question you want. We're not asking any money from you at this point to come and listen to these barristers and hear what they got to say and ask your questions. Get it right from them. So we said, we need a neutral place. And what better neutral place would there be than the LMA? So jump on the phone, Jamal, Assalamu alaikum. We need a room. We organize the meeting with the shuyukh. We want to organize meeting with the barristers. We want everybody in one room, this and that. This is where we started to see the cracks. Oh, brother, I can't really make that decision. The board needs to make the decision. You got to go back to them. I'm thinking, you're the one who just told me this is going to separate the real from the fake. And anything that you want, we're behind you and we're with you. I said, okay, no problem. So he gives me a number for another guy. I ring him up. I said, can we get a room? No, what room do you want? When do you want it? At this time, that time? Okay, this room's not available at this day. I said, well, can I have it at this other day? Things that it's the end of the year now. We can't really do it. So we couldn't get a room. They didn't want to give us a room, couldn't give us a room, no time slot, whatever the excuse was, no room. So then we decided to organize this very same meeting in another place that was provided to us by another brother at his actual business, subhanAllah. Again, because we wanted to leave it on neutral ground. Certain people are invited, and inshallah, the majority of these people that were invited and were not invited are who I'm going to be making these videos about, by name and by organization. One of these people are the LMA and, as I said, Jamal Khair. He's supposed to be coming to this meeting day comes, time, no show, nowhere to be seen. So we discuss whatever we discuss, and we're trying to get it out there that this is what we're going through. This is what is heading our way. It's not a struggle or a fight just for Abu Usaid or Al Madinah Da'wah Center. This is going to affect everybody, and this is coming from barristers and solicitors who are looking into the case themselves, and these are professionals in their field, saying to the Muslim community, and mind you, non-Muslims, saying, this is what's coming your way. This is the wave that's coming to you. This is how it's going to impact you. It could impact you in the future. How you preach, how you teach. They asked whatever they asked. Everybody agreed in the room, yes, this is definitely what's going on. Let's take the next step. The next step is, okay, let's rally around. LMA, can you put a presser out there? Oh, I have to speak to the board yet again. Another crack. This person, that person, can you put something out there? I'll get back to you. No one got back to us. We need to raise some funds. Can you help us raise some funds? This is a big fight. Everyone's complaining about what Israel's doing and the Australian Jewish lobby is doing, the Zionist movement is doing. We're the ones running the ball up. Support us. Don't stand next to us. Help us out with money. Help us out with spreading our campaigns, making awareness. Nothing. So maybe it's at this point that we need to remind each other and everybody listening to this who the LMA is, because we tend to forget. And being that we're the son of Adam, alayhi salam, and the son of Adam, he forgets. This is the same LMA that whenever the politicians want to pass something or hand something down to the Muslim community, it usually comes through the LMA. This is the LMA that when politicians want Muslim support, Muslim votes, they run to the LMA. And depending on which party is promising what and giving more grants, the LMA leans to either Labour, Liberal, Greens, whoever it may be. About 2 years ago, the LMA and ANIC, as well as the Grand Mufti of Australia, Ibrahim Muhammad, and no other than Slim Shady, they rock up to Lakemba Mosque, the LMA, Lakemba Masjid, and lo and behold, who's been invited? Then Prime Minister and still Prime Minister Albanese. And this was a big landmark, the first time a prime minister comes to Lakemba, to the Muslims. And this obviously gives credit to wherever the Albanese has come. So now it's giving credit to the Muslim community. Look who I'm connected with. Look who's coming to our center. This is the way these politics work. Now let's not forget that what happened at the stairs before entering the masjid. What took place at the masjid? Do you remember, my brothers and sisters? Do you not recall the shirk that was happening outside the LMA? Don't you forget the smoke ceremony that they did outside the LMA, which was calling upon the spirits and keeping the evil spirits away. And the shuyukh and members of the LMA were standing around laughing, smiling for the cameras, taking photos, enjoying watching this shirk. And nothing was said about it afterwards. This is the same time when Albanese went inside and spoke, and Shadi gave his speech, giving his bay'ah to Albanese, that we are with you and we're behind you, and he started giving takbirat, and everybody gave their bay'ah to Albanese.
But inshallah, and by the will of Allah, in the house of Allah, with our friends here, the Prime Minister and Minister Burke and the entire government.
And the very next day, whatever happens, on October 7th, thereafter, Albanese openly says that he is in support of Israel. He is in support of what's going on there, speaks against the people of Gaza. This is where things start to get a little bit sour between the Labour Party and the Muslim community. And whatever happens after that happens and unfolds. Have we forgotten that this is what happened? Well, I think the LMA had forgotten. Because recently on their websites, on their Facebook site, they congratulate Albanese for his win on the 5th of May 2025. And you can check this on their Facebook media release, LMA, Lebanese Muslim Association. They help Lebanese and Muslims. 5th of May 2025, LMA congratulates Prime Minister Albanese on his election victory. This is for the recent election. Now, this is despite the fact that for a good almost 2-year period, the Labour Party was continuing to openly show support for Israel, and only in the last coming months towards the time of voting, they had a change of tune. They needed the Muslim voters in order to get into power. So they started to soften up towards Gaza, started to show that they were a bit harsh against Netanyahu and Israel and what's going on there. But by that time, it was already too late. 50,000 people had already died, men, women, and children, people starving, people losing their homes, people being bombed. IDF members allowed to leave from Australia to go join the army and fight. Australia is still supplying Israel with weapons in that period. It's not that the Labour Party had a change of heart. The Labour Party knew that they were on a sinking ship. And before Netanyahu sunk it even further, they had to get off this ship. They had to really get off this ship. So it had nothing to do with Muslims and loving Muslims and so on and so forth. What did they do to entice the Muslim community? We know that Tony Burke, I think it was, who had promised that if Labour were re-elected, $10 million would be given to the UMA, the United Muslims Association, and that's for another video. LMA is being neutral at this time, but obviously $10 million that's going to be granted is going to bring you out of the shadows. A week before, the Sheikh of the LMA stands up on the khutbah and says to everybody, vote Labour. Labour wins. Congratulations. SubhanAllah. This is the LMA. This is the LMA that we are speaking about. This is the LMA that were recently taken to court with somebody was delving into the corruption that they were doing, with $6 million being paid to one worker and $4 million being paid to somebody else, and he was dragged through court. This is the LMA that we're talking about. This is the LMA that should be standing up for the Lebanese community, Muslim community. This is who represents the Muslims, right? The biggest Muslim organization, biggest masjid in Australia. But not one time when we approached them did they stand up and give even a word for this case, for their own Muslim brother, even if I and them disagree on many things. I've spoken about LMA 100 times. They've probably said about things about me also. I've warned against them, they've warned against me. But when it comes down to a common enemy who's trying to take or make it hard for you to quote the Quran and from the Sunnah, from the Hadith, this is the time where you should have unity. And this is, in fact, something I'd followed them on. So if someone tries to say, well, hold on, you've never done the same. No, I've always had the position that when something is affecting the Muslim community at large, we stand together openly outside our centers, not in our masajid, outside in a public, a neutral place, and we say, we as a Muslim body, with all our differences, we are not going to take this. We say no against this, or we want this or want that, right? No, I have always had no issue in doing that. And in fact, the proof of that is when those two nurses who weren't quoting Quran, weren't quoting Sunnah, didn't say anything on the minbar, weren't teaching the class, nothing at all, just saying some comments, whatever they said, whether right or wrong. I was one of those signatories on that release that came out. Why? Because I understand al-wala' wal-bara'. I understand how it works. So even if when we differ internally between one another, when it comes between us and those externally, we're always going to stand together and show that we are one, even with all our differences. But again, LMA, not a room, not a word, not a dollar. And the reason why I felt I needed to make this video is recently the LMA have been doing some things. Keep in mind, as I said, there was a time when we were asking the LMA to get behind us, right? Which they didn't. But then, if you remember, during the period that we've asked them to help us, even for a room, which they couldn't even help a room, even with a word, they didn't help with a word. In that period, there was a threat to a local church from the Lebanese Lebanese Christian community, St. Charles. There was a bomb threat. Somebody had called them up with a bomb threat. Who jumped to their aid? The LMA. And on the 4th of April, they put out a presser, 2025. LMA stands in solidarity with St. Charles community following bomb threat. Yes, we're against violence and we're against evil, we're against bomb threats, no problem. But your own Muslim brother, your own Muslim center, even if you disagree with, not a presser, not a word of support, not a dollar, not even a room. Subhanallah. And then most recently, there was another thing that happened that everybody would have seen, and that was the ABC reporter who was stood down, who was fired, Antoinette Lattouf, working at the ABC. She had said something in support of Gaza and against Israel, and she was fired. LMA again takes to their Facebook, puts out another presser, media release, 25 June 2025. LMA welcomes court victory for Antoinette Lattouf, a win for truth and democracy. And there it goes on to say that they are so happy with this ruling, that she was able to win, and this was an attempt to silence voices, that this win isn't only for journalists, but it's for everybody advocating who dares to speak the truth about Gaza and about the genocide against the Palestinian people. Who was doing that? Your own brother. Who was doing that? Another fellow Muslim Islamic center. And where were you? Where are you even today? Where are you? Silence. No room, no dollar, no word. Subhanallah. And they're contradicting themselves even in this. And hypocrisy, my dear brothers and sisters, it blows your mind. Things that they mention in this presser, and you can go back and read it, and I'll try to put it up as well. Things like saying, we will not bow to the lobby groups who seek to intimidate, silence, and erase those who speak out for justice. Where were you for your brother? You were standing there for this reporter, but where were you for your brother? Where were you for that another Islamic center? And then he goes on to describe that we stand tall despite all the threats, the abuse, and the professional consequences. That these are the true heroes. So the true heroes are ones like this journalist who do what they did, but no one is a hero. A hero is not someone who stands on the minbar and says the very same thing that you're saying are the characteristics of heroes, saying it from an Islamic paradigm, and you show no support. So what's really, do you really deserve the name, the LMA, the Lebanese Muslim Association? So my dear brothers and sisters, keep in mind, know with clarity, openly, loudly, proudly, that these people, these organizations, them and others like them, that inshallah in the near future I'll be making some videos about, they stand for no one but themselves. They stand up for nothing but their own position and their own power and their own titles. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, don't be fooled by these organizations who have for far too long had a monopoly over the Muslim community, who have proven to be cowards, who have proven to betray their own other brothers and sisters, their own other Muslim organization. And when they had the opportunity to be men, to be courageous, to stand up against the Jewish lobby who back the Zionist state of Israel, challenged them face on, head to head, they hid away, ran away, and refused and went completely silent, broke all their promises, and again proved themselves. And alhamdulillah, that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, proved me at least right. So brothers and sisters, this was the first video, and inshallah there's others to come. Those others include a certain organization who said that they were going to collect money on a Jum'ah, and then after 3-4 times of asking him this, after he's saying that I'm behind the brother despite our differences that we've had in the past and whatever we've gotten wrong, I now have to ask the Mashaykh. And mind you, all the Mashaykh went quiet about this. Another organization who came out and said that the problems between us and Abu Usaid, Wissam Haddad, is like Israel and Hamas. It's always existed. We're going to also exposing them, and along the way, I'm going to be exposing other people, other individuals who looked upon as celebrities in the Muslim community. It's time to expose them. It's time to show and prove exactly what Jamal al-Khair said. Show the real from the fake. Assalamu alaikum.